Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It's Sportscast brought to you by the Outspoken Network. Your hosts Brian and Craig on a Tuesday. Craig, my man, how you been?
Another day, brother.
Another day for sure. All right, guys. Well, we've got the divisional round we're going to talk about. We got the college football championship, and we've got to talk about the Ben Johnson to Chicago hire. How we feel about that? Um, we've had some really good football games this last weekend. And we've had some surprises. We've had a little bit of everything. So you got the Saturday. We started off with the Chiefs. They beat the Texans pretty handily, 23-14. Um, this is a game that we're all rooting for the Chiefs to lose, but I don't think we thought the Texans were going to win this football game. I know last week, Jeff, you were strongly in agreement that the Chiefs, that the Texans didn't stand a chance in this one, and Um, you know, the refs were the refs and had a couple penalties against Mahomes that were like, really? That really wasn't too much. Even Troy Aikman was on there calling him out on the on the thing, but it is what it is. Patrick Mahomes had 177 yards. Um, they didn't rush the ball very well in Kansas City, but CJ Stroud 245 yards. Not a terrible game for him, but he had no touchdowns. And the Chiefs hold on to win. And the biggest thing to this takeaway of this game is they forgot Travis Kelsey was on the field. I mean, this guy had almost 120 receiving yards, and he just went off. Um, their next closest receiver had 45 yards from
Yeah,
Xavier Worthy.
120 of the 177 total go to him,
Yeah,
and you just didn't have anybody that could clearly cover him. And I mean, that's what big players do in big games. He's had a pretty quiet season, and really hasn't had the game like this. And when you need him most, he shows up. And I mean, the touchdown that he caught, he's standing right between three Texan defenders, and they just didn't ever slide in front of him and bump him or do anything. So, yeah, I mean,
this is one of those weird games where the Texans had more yards, they had more passing yards, they had more rushing yards. Um, they, I think they won the turnover battle. Um,
I mean, Kansas City is definitely going to have to play a better version of football against the Bills. I would think to beat Josh Allen, but we'll see.
yeah, we'll see what happens on that one. Excuse me. Sorry, I got this bad cough again. Unfortunately. All right. Then we had the game of the weekend, man. This is one of the games we're looking forward to watching. We all picked the Lions to win, and they didn't do that. They actually they lost 45-31. They didn't look good. Jared Goff, they did not win the turnover battle. They turned the ball over. He was off a little bit. It was timing. He out threw one of the fastest receivers in the league. Um, and you just really got to give this to Jaden Daniels, man. Jaden Daniels, he proved that he is not scared of the moment. That it doesn't matter what moment it is, that this guy's not phased. 299 passing yards, two touchdowns. He added 51 on the ground. He runs the ball when he needs to. He's not afraid to throw the ball downfield. Um, Goff had 313 yards, but he threw three interceptions. Jamar Gibbs ran the ball well, 105 yards overall. But Washington Commanders, man, they are dangerous, and they play this way like they did against the Lions. They can win against anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were kind of playing with house money, like we were talking about. And eh, but my whole question, and this hasn't really been brought up, but if you're an NFL football team and you're in this situation, um, both coordinators went out and conducted interviews for head coaching spots during the bye week. I understand that you really didn't have during the bye week. You didn't have the exact team you were going to prep for, but I have to wonder that the performance, especially on the Aaron Glenn side, on the defensive side of the football, that's something you didn't see all year from Detroit. Was the only game that they looked like they couldn't stop a team was the Buffalo game. And I just wonder that if they just didn't think, hey, it's the Commanders, we're just going to show up, we're going to win it. We don't really need to put the time in, the effort in to prep, and it just looked like they weren't prepared for what they got. And by the time they realized, hey, we're in a dogfight here, it was too late. You really expected the second half for Glenn to come in and go, all right, we saw what they were doing. We're going to go in halftime. We're going to make the adjustment, and we're going to shut this thing down, and we're going to win this football game. And that just didn't happen. And I just I wonder if going forward, if I'm an NFL team, if I'm still in the playoffs, I go, hey, no, you guys aren't going out and interviewing until we're done. And if it
Yeah.
costs you a job, it costs you a job. I'm not letting my guys go and interview and take a distraction away from. I mean, here's a team who's 15-2 and looked like they had the world. You know, everything was lined up. Everything had to come to Detroit. You had 15 wins. You beat good teams. You played. You had to play all the way up till week 18 to guarantee that you got the one seed and everything like that. And then to come out with a performance like this in a playoff game was just not something I saw coming.
Yeah, we had a great year. They had 15-2. They had a good year last year. They folded in the against the 49ers in the playoffs. They should have gone to the Super Bowl. We figured
I wouldn't say folded. I think where that game turned was the Ayuk catch that was
off.
completely,
Yeah.
if that play runs 30 more times, 29 of them, he doesn't catch that. And I still, if you go back and look at that play, think that you probably could have called it offensive pass interference where he pushed off to get the separation to make that catch. But I think I mean, I don't necessarily say folded in that situation. I mean, they were kind of the Washington Commanders where they were playing with house money. Nobody expected them to be in the NFC Championship. And they thought this would be the year, and it really was. And so now I question, you're probably going to lose both coordinators.
You already lost one.
Right. And
Just looking at you a
Glenn's
little bit.
probably gone. And what does this team look like? Where do you get coordinators? Was this your window? I mean, you don't see in the NFL, you don't see, unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you don't see long windows
Yeah.
of opportunity. So I wonder. I mean, I think player wise, they're gonna have the same pieces, but was it Campbell? Was it the players? Or was it the systems they were running? That's going to be the question that the Detroit Lions have to answer going forward. Is um, what does this offense? What does this defense look like? I mean, you're going to get Hutch back. You're going to get some pieces back defensively, but what does this team look like going forward in a division that looks like it's going to be one of the better divisions in football for the next foreseeable future? I mean, every team in that division doesn't have like old expiring rosters that are deal. Every team in that division has young, upcoming talent that is probably going to get better.
Yeah. They were talking on the radio today about the Lions situation going forward because they were like, realistically, after losing, more than likely, they lost Ben Johnson. They're more than likely going to lose their defensive coordinator. You would kind of rebuild a little bit and revamp this team, but they're they're like they don't have the question mark here is Jared Goff, and is he good enough going forward to get him over the hump? Because you look back with the Rams,
Right,
they got to the Super Bowl, but they said, "Hey, this guy's not going to be good enough to win."
right.
And um, he came out and had one of the worst games of his the season, and when it counted the most. So you got to wonder if he's built for that moment, and they don't have that. They have a lot of talent around him, but I'm interested to see because I think Ben Johnson was a big reason of their success.
Right.
And
Putting them in situations, the trickery plays,
yeah,
I'll be interested to see if Campbell is as
aggressive.
gutsy and
Yeah,
aggressive to go for it without that kind of play caller. And I don't know, maybe they go and find somebody that's just as good as Ben Johnson and plug them in, and they never miss a step. But I was looking today at what the options are going to be, and
it's not a
you're
lot.
really running out of options as to who you would replace that with.
Yeah, and I think you know you got to give kudos to the GM. They got a good roster. They've been making great draft
Oh,
picks. They've been
absolutely.
getting guys. Campbell's this hurrah guy to motivate you, and Ben Johnson's the guy with the plan. So it all folds well together. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can continue this kind of success they had the last 2 years. Yeah, granted they didn't hit the goal they wanted to, but 15-2, you're not going to say it was a bad season.
No.
They just didn't finish in the end, but um, this division is going to be strong for the
Right.
foreseeable future. So it'll be interesting to see if they bring in there. Their defensive coach is, as far as I know, is still available. Maybe he sticks around, but we shall see. Um, and I don't know how. I mean, I don't know if the playoffs really play into this, but Dan Quinn should be up for coach the freaking year to come over to Washington to take over an organization that has really not ever had the success in super long. Like they haven't won 12 games in so many years. Taking a rookie quarterback and putting him in a situation to succeed the way
All
they
that's
have.
voted on before the playoffs, but
Yeah,
I mean, I still think you have to look at it as I still think Campbell is probably the leader in the clubhouse, and maybe even
probably Minnesota.
the guy from
Wouldn't mind.
Minnesota, because that was supposed to be a rebuilding year without your quarterback, and
Yeah,
he goes 14-3, probably that, you know, um, going forward. But yeah, you have to look at what Campbell did, and then you have to look, when you're Jerry Jones and you had both Quinn and Kellen Moore on the same sideline, why didn't you have this kind of success?
yeah,
You know, we all thought the plan was always going to be to move Quinn to the head coaching spot, and you could have had kind of this deal, and you didn't, and now you wonder if you didn't miss the opportunity.
yep. And there's been reports and stories after McCarthy left that that McCarthy seems like a pretty insecure person. That he didn't want Kellamore there. He didn't let Kellamore run the plays like he wanted. He was secure. He insecure about Dan Quinn being there. I'm like, sounds a little hectic there, and with Dallas, which it usually is. But then we move on. We move on to the Rams Eagles game. I picked the Rams. I think you picked the Rams too. Jeff picked the Eagles. Eagles win 28-22. You know, this was another one of those games, and that the Rams came fighting back. I thought they were going to come back. They had a chance to. They were driving the ball down. They get a penalty and I think a sack, and they can't complete the comeback. I thought they were going to go and win, not 29-22, the final drive there.
You just can't let Saquon Barkley go for 205 yards. Um,
Yeah,
I understand that he had a very good season. What could have been an MVP caliber season, although the MVP award seems to be strictly for quarterbacks. Um, he has over 2,000 yards. You know, none of us saw this coming. You know, I knew he was going to play with a chip on his shoulder to prove to the Giants, hey, you guys screwed up. I knew that's kind of why he went to the NFC East so he could play them twice a year and stick it to them twice a year. But nobody saw this coming, and you have to know as the Rams that offense was going to be run through him and have a better game plan for him because you didn't have anything to stop. I mean, 205 yards is unheard of, and you know, so you that's disappointing. That's McVay normally has a much stronger game plan. Yeah, I understand they have a lot going on with where they're from and all the things going on in California, and they were fighting some adversity. But man, you and the NFL did them no favors to play on Monday and then to come in and you know, either way they were going to play on short rest. I don't think there ever needs to be a Monday playoff game. Put the three on Saturday, put the three on Sunday. You're putting a team behind the eight ball, and you know, you just wonder if it wasn't just too much for the Rams to um all deal with. You know,
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see next week. We got Eagles, Commanders going to the NFC Championship game, divisional. This should be a good fought game. Now, Commanders are going to have to find a way to stop Saquon Barkley.
right?
Um, this is another game though. We look at that Jalen Hurts didn't really play all that well. I guess he didn't really need to when
And
you
the
got a running
Commanders
back.
have kind of played them very tough both times they played them.
Yeah.
Um,
Did the Eagles win both those this season
no, the Commanders beat them. Now they did beat them. I think they
with their
beat
backup,
them
right?
without Hurts, you know. But they played them pretty tough the first time they played them with Hurts. Um, I have no idea. I haven't looked at what the weather's going to be like. Is there going to be, you know, snow all over the field again? And um, but again, I think the Commanders right now are just
They're playing
playing.
on another level.
They are. I think they've. We talk about Kansas City in that next year. It sure looks like the Commanders have gone and grabbed another gear, and Dan Quinn has them ready to play football. And here's the thing with Quinn coming from Dallas, he's very familiar with the Eagles. He's very familiar with that offense. He's very familiar with Kellen Moore. He's
Yeah.
very familiar with um, so um, I think Quinn has a leg up game plan, you know, and Kellen Moore vice versa. Kellen Moore has a very good underst- understanding. I mean, those two ran reps against each other in practice for
Yeah.
years, so I think both coordinators are very familiar with the other, and so that to me you're going to have two extremely good football games for the NFC and AFC championship game. I think the Bills and Chiefs are going to be. I mean, we watched that game a couple months ago where he went to Kansas City and Josh Allen puts his cape on and spins into the deal and wins that game on the last possession. And both Eagles and Commanders games were pretty good this season. You look at playing a team for a third time. You say how difficult that is to play a team for a third time.
Right.
I think you're going to have two very good football games for the NFC and AFC championship game.
100% agree. My question to you now is, being a Cowboy fan, having two teams you hate, who would you rather see go to the Super Bowl, the Commanders or the Eagles?
I think you want Jaden Daniels to kind of finish the story at this point.
Yeah.
You he's very likable. He's not arrogant. He's very humble. He's very, you know, I'm just going to come out here and I'm going to do what I need to do. Obviously, he's put in the work, the effort to be better. You question, you've always said that the jump from college football to the pros is the biggest jump in any sport ever, and especially at the quarterback position. You watch how Caleb Williams, he had his bright spots, but he also had his struggle spots, and Jalen Williams just didn't have that, or Jaden Daniels just didn't have that. He had a very good season for the first 6 weeks. We were talking about him in the MVP candidacy. Now the question's going to be next year: does he have the
Sophomore slump.
Shroud's, sophomore slump?
Uh,
Does he take the step back? Um, but boy, that Commanders team looks really good right now.
and my question too is, how long can he stay healthy? Running the ball the way he does. He's a
Right,
small guy.
but he is bigger. He's
He's
pretty.
lanky,
Yeah,
but
and he had the injury earlier in the year. He missed a game or two.
yeah,
Um, but
I'm
I think
hoping I'm hoping the Commanders go. They're much more likable. I've been a Jaden
right.
Daniels fan this whole season. It's kind of watching him. Plus, the Eagles took my team out, so they
Yeah,
can
and
lose.
I'm not a big Saquon fan. I'm not a big Sirianni fan. Um,
Yeah.
I
Uh,
would much rather see the Commanders go.
I think a lot of Cowboy fans probably feel that same way. You have a lot more hate for the Eagles. We have the game. The final game was Ravens at Buffalo in the snow. And to me, Craig, this game was not a game. This game was a game that Buffalo let the Ravens hang in there. And I thought the Ravens at the end had the momentum. I thought they were going to drive down and win the football game. But Mark Andrews drops the 2 point conversion, and that pretty much wrapped it up. They had to try an onside kick. The Buffalo Bills win by 2 points. And you know what's interesting to me is they go out and they get Derrick Henry for this specific reason, and they don't give him the ball very much. They give him 16 carries. James Cook had 17 on the other side with the Bills. They didn't give him the ball 20, 25 times like they should have. And you saw early in the game Lamar Jackson throwing the ball downfield. Um, I just didn't understand the game plan. They went away from what worked all year to get them where they're at, running the ball,
Well,
and I mean they still rushed for 176 yards, but Lamar put them 40 of that, and their backup Hill had 50 of that. But
if you
they're
go back and look, I don't know why, but if you go back and look at the history of Harbaugh, every playoff time he goes away from the run. It's been a historic, and he gets questioned about it every time he loses. They go, hey, you ran the ball for 1,000,000 yards all year. You get in the playoff and you put it on the arm of Lamar Jackson. It's almost like it's very indicative of what happened to Ohio State versus Michigan. Is all of a sudden somebody goes and tells Ryan Day, "Hey, I don't think you can run the ball against the Michigan Wolverines." Oh, you don't think I can run? Oh, okay. Well, I'll prove you wrong, and I'm going to run it. And then it doesn't work, and you lose the football game, and they go, well, why didn't you use the three all pro wide receivers you had to exploit what works? Well, because you told me I couldn't run the ball, so I'm going to run. And it's almost like he hears the people say that, hey, Lamar can't throw the ball. He's a runner. He can't throw the ball. And Harbaugh's like, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to go into a playoff game against Buffalo, and I'm going to put this on the arm of Lamar Jackson
In bad weather.
in bad weather, in wind and snow, and a game where you should 100% rely on the running game, and you completely go away from it and throw the ball 30 or 40 times. I, I, I I'll never understand it, but that seems to be the mentality of Harbaugh. If you look back at every playoff run, it ends the same way. It ends on the arm of Lamar Jackson. And that's why we've said Lamar in big game situations doesn't perform, because they're putting it on the arm, which is his obviously not his best attribute.
Yeah.
He's gotten better. I mean, you can't throw for 4,000 yards in the NFL and say, "Hey, he hasn't gotten better at throwing the football." That when he got drafted, he used to have the arm of a wet noodle and was accuracy of they say now. One thing I will give him credit for, they say you can't teach accuracy. I beg to differ, because Lamar Jackson looked like a blind man throwing a football when he came into the NFL. And if you have 4,000 yards, you clearly have gotten more accurate and gotten better at throwing the football. But I'm not. If I have two choices on what I'm going to rely on in a football game in bad weather in Buffalo in a playoff, I'm not putting it on Lamar Jackson's arm.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. And I mean, listen, they still marched down the field. They still scored the touchdown they needed to score.
It was a nice
And
throw too by Lamar.
if you run that play 75 more times, 73 of them he probably catches the football. I went back and watched it um because I didn't see it live. I had already gone to lay down. But um I went back and watched it, and it doesn't look necessarily like he dropped it because he dropped it. It looked like
It
his
was a bad
feet.
throw.
Well, no, it looked like his feet on the turf. It looked like his feet slipped out from under him, and he was actually falling. Like, if he was able to keep his feet, I think he makes the catch. I think he was falling. I think he went to plant to get up the field, and his feet slipped on the frozen turf, and he started falling, and he was more worried about falling, and it hits his foot, and that ball had to be as
It was.
hard as a rock,
Yeah. Well,
in
the
sub
and
freezing temperatures, and
the throw was a little low on the inside.
right,
I think he just tried to aim it and
right,
it was too easy of a throw.
and again,
But he's got to make the catch
in
at the
that
end of the day.
situation you have to make that catch, and in that situation again, why not use Derrick Henry? You don't think Derrick Henry can get you, what is it, 5 yards, 6 yards, whatever it is,
Yeah,
that
4 yards.
you running the 2 point play from? I'm thinking if I give Henry the ball, he's not going to stop until he finds you know the end zone. But yeah, I I question why you go away from what works. See, Philadelphia didn't do that. Philadelphia said, "This is the guy that got us here. This is the guy we're going with." And 205 yards later, they went, "Yeah, we win the football game."
Yep. Um, Ryan, the NFC East is superior, and then the NFC North in every way. Get out of here. You have two shitty teams in your division, sir. Too shitty.
Giants, the Giants are trash,
Giants are trash. Cowboys were trash this year. We have the Bears, and that's other than that.
and they just got a lot better.
Yes, they did. We'll get into that here in a minute. Yeah, this is the game. And this is the game that the Ravens honestly should have won. You look at Josh Allen. He wasn't throwing the ball over the field. They ran the ball quite a bit. I wasn't too impressed by them, but they
No,
get the
like I
job
said,
done
just like I said,
at the end
Kansas
of the
City
day.
will have to play a better football game to beat Buffalo. Buffalo's going to have to play a whole lot better than they played to beat Kansas City.
um, excuse me. What you want to? Should we go ahead and predict who's going to win next week? Cause well, is
We
it on
can, or
Sunday?
we can wait till Saturday.
It's on Sunday. Let's wait till Saturday when Jeff's on. Um, all right. Well, let's get to the Ben Johnson hiring. Ben Johnson surprisingly goes to the Chicago Bears. Now, it was rumors, but I didn't think he would to go in this division
I mean,
against.
I go and see the next day. Um, Here's Brady and Ben Johnson on a flight to the to the Raiders. I just thought it's a done deal, and then I see this news and I go, what? Like, where did this come from?
He must really like Caleb Williams to feel like I guess he can turn him around or wanting to go work with him um, to take this job. But here's my thing: the Bears finally made the right decision. Ben Johnson is supposed to be, and I say supposed to be because we don't know until we can't tell the future. Supposed to be the next best coach, right? Um, I believe he's not the only reason, but the one of the biggest reasons the Lions have been really good the last two seasons. And my hope is that he's the guy that is a good offensive coordinator, but a bad head coach. And me and Jeff were having this conversation on the phone call on the way home from work. A Vic Fangio hot take. Ryan says hot take. Great OC will be a bad head coach, not a leader of men. And I agree with you on that. I think that's gonna be that's what I'm hoping he pans out to be. You have guys like Vic Fangio, great defensive coordinator, horrible offensive coach, or horrible head coach. You got um, Denver's defensive coordinator right now. I forget his name. He was a terrible offensive or a terrible head coach. Well, he's a pretty good. It's Vance Joseph, pretty good defensive coordinator. So I'm hoping that way is Ben Johnson because he doesn't seem like he has much of a personality. Doesn't seem like he has that, but maybe he does. Um, if I'm looking at Wade Phillips, yes, Ryan said Wade Phillips is um, great defensive coordinator, not a very good head coach. So that's what I'm hoping for because I'm a Packers fan and I hope the Bears fail. There's Bears fans that think they're cursed, but if I take my bias out of it, it's the right move. And this guy's going to turn around this offense. Now, the Bears got to get an offensive line because if you don't have an offensive line that can protect your quarterback, it doesn't matter who goes in there, you're not going to succeed. So, um, it looks like the NFC North just got tougher, in my opinion. What do
Well,
you think about Ben Johnson, Craig?
I just think it's the smarter choice. We looked at the Raiders and said this organization is in shambles. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a running back. They have none of the pieces in place. It is going to be a rebuild. from the ground up. How long are you going to get? And if you look at Chicago, yes, they need offensive line help. They need some pieces, um, but they're much closer to being a organization to where it's ready and can win a little bit now. Whereas the Raiders, and do you want to go play Patrick Mahomes twice a year? I was a little shocked he did it as almost a middle finger to the Lions. You know, you go in the division, and that to me is a little surprising that you go and sign in your own division where I wonder if he thinks, well, the Lions were that good because of me, so when I leave they're not going to be something I have to deal with, because I know I wouldn't want to deal with the Detroit Lions for the next 2 years. I wouldn't want to deal with Jordan Love. I just think it was, he looked at it, he waited out and saw that Chicago was just a much better run franchise, which that's
This
not
is a
something you hear a lot, but better run than the Raiders, and it was just a better opportunity as your first head coaching, because a lot of these guys have gone up to the Raiders, have gone up to the Jets, and just, you know, Robert Sala. I think Robert Sala is probably an okay head coach or not a bad head coach, but he goes and gets the Jets job and makes it look like he can't do anything. Um, the guy that just got fired in uh, for the Raiders, I don't think he gets a fair shake. Um, New England, he gets hired for a year. That's in shambles right now, and he only gets a year. So I think Ben Johnson looked at it and said, "This is my best opportunity to kind of show that I can do this, and where I'm not going to get." Because a lot of these guys, I don't know if Sala and Richardson and the guy that just got fired in a season in New England, do they get another shot because of how bad it made them look in their first opportunity? Does another team give them an opportunity? Whereas Ben Johnson thinks, I can at least do enough with Chicago that if it doesn't work out, I can get another opportunity somewhere else.
yeah, and they well, and you just look at the quarterback position too. I mean,
Yeah,
the Raiders have no quarterback.
no quarterback.
This is a guy, Caleb Williams, that's got the talent that probably he said, I'm gonna link myself up with him. I can work with him. I can make him better, and we can grow
And
as an organization.
if you're listening to the tea leaves, they're talking about the Raiders getting Shadur Sanders. If I'm Ben Johnson, I don't want any part of that. Want any part of the Shadur Sanders, train.
Ryan says he's bringing in Dennis Allen as defensive coordinator for Chicago. So, um, man, they're
It's
gonna have a good team.
not
They're
a
gonna it's
bad
a good
hire. Um,
yeah. They're gonna have
we'll
a good
see.
coaching staff. From the
Yeah, we'll
Bears
see what kind of
fans,
draft they get.
yeah, from the Bears fans, we've heard it's just bad coaching, bad coaching. Well, that's not going to be the excuse anymore. And I think Paul still thinks they're cursed in a way that doesn't matter what happens, but we'll
You have
see.
to ask. You have to ask as a Lions fan. You have to ask if that's not, that curse seems a little more real now.
Yeah, but no, it's a good hire. It's a good hire. What are the Cowboys doing, Craig? I hear Brian Schottenheimer.
That's the name in the building right now. Kellen Moore, I'm hearing, basically kind of almost flag the interview. One word answers. Not. I think Kellen Moore has a bad taste in his mouth of the organization and how they did him. Um, I don't know if he comes back. Schottenheimer. I mean, it's a name. I mean, his dad was a coach, and Jerry has said he wants to hire somebody that's going to run a similar offense because Dak likes that offense. I don't know if that's the answer. It's not like you put up some good numbers last year, not the year 2 years ago. You put up good numbers where he might have been the MVP, but I just I don't even know where you go from here draft wise. Um, you need offensive line help badly. You need wide receiver help badly. You need a running back badly. Like, I mean, you need so much. This team went from being very competitive to desperately needing more than what one draft can provide.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And now that you have what looks like going to be a Eagles team that's going to be pretty good, and what looks like a Commanders team that's going to be really good, that division just became an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Um, so
Ryan said, "Where did you hear Kellen gave one-word answers?"
that was an article I read. I don't know, Bleacher Report or something like that. It was just that basically he just didn't give a very good interview, and I understand that Kellen's probably the comfortable hire in somebody that Jerry can kind of control and manipulate and still do all that, but I just don't think. I think right now the leader in the clubhouse is Schottenheimer.
Now, Ryan did say they also interviewed him for head coach and then offensive coordinator, kind of see which way they want to go. But I think a
Yeah,
big,
but if you put Schottenheimer in there, you're gonna let him. He's the offensive mind. Like you're not gonna take. I mean, I think if you're Schottenheimer, you're gonna like I'm calling the plays.
um, oh, it's for both head coach and offensive coordinator. Okay, gotcha, Ryan. Yeah, I don't know. I just, you know, Jerry likes to have too much control, and they've
Same with
never,
Kellen Moore. I don't think you're gonna
they've,
hire Kellen Moore as the head coach and go, oh yeah, you're not calling plays. By the way,
they don't know.
Schottenheimer's calling them.
Yeah, they've always hired guys and said, "Hey, this is gonna be your offensive coordinator. This is gonna be your deep." I'm like, let a
Right,
guy come in here and
right,
pick his crew. I
right.
heard
And
Al
that
Harris is Al Harris leaving. I heard the rumor about him leaving, the cornerback coach. Who thought,
they had made him the assistant head coach. They had promoted him. I don't know if he's leaving or not. That'd be a huge loss if that's the case.
I heard rumors. I'm not sure if they're 100% true. Um, all right, well, there's your head coaching hires. Brian, let me know about Al Harris because that thing that'd be a big loss because they talk about how much they liked him so much. But Greg, I didn't watch. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Um, Orion said they want him in the organization in some capacity. So okay, just wondering.
They want.
Al Harris.
Oh,
Um, I didn't even realize the national championship was playing last night. I went to bed and scrolling on the phone. I was like, oh man, it's on. I knew Ohio State was going to win. The the offense for Notre Dame was one that's not going to keep up with them, and sure enough,
yeah.
Buckeyes get the job done.
I knew it was on because I knew Ohio State was going to win a national championship on my birthday, and it made me sick. Um, so Notre Dame came out and I mean scores first. Looks like they might actually make a game of this, and then after that, Ohio State just kind of imposed their will and ran off the next 24 points or 30 points, and Notre Dame tries to make some adjustments and make a little bit of a comeback, but by the time it was too late, and I think Ohio State kind of just went into once they went up, 31-7. That basically they kind of went into coast mode and um they you knew when they beat Oregon that their path was pretty clear to the
Yeah.
national championship and that they were going to have a pretty good chance to do this. Um, be interesting to see where they go from here. If they change the format, if they change the seating, if they change um, some other things. I think it was a good initial experiment. I think some teams got some good money, some teams got some good exposure. The teams, you saw teams that wouldn't normally be the Boise States, the Indianas, um, the teams like that that weren't normally in playoff and big bowl games. You got to see them and got them some exposure. So I think it was a good start, but I still think there needs to be some tweaking involved in things like this.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's that time of year where we're getting close to the end of our favorite sports, and we'll look forward to the off season and see if they make any moves to the playoff, the 12-game playoff next year, 12-team playoff, and go from there. Ryan did text me and tell me that Al Harris is gone. Sorry, Al Harris is gone from the Cowboys. So,
That's a big
um,
loss to me. Um,
yeah, they really liked him.
from
They talked highly of him. They thought at one point we might be a defensive coordinator for him. But
well, I even heard him that's possibly in the head coaching. I didn't think he'd get it, but I mean, I thought they were going to maybe interview him. Like I said, I had known they made him the assistant head coach, and they really liked him. So that's a very big shocker to me.
um, all right, guys. Well, we will be back on Saturday. We'll predict the championship games. Who's going to the Super Bowl? Um, I hope those games are fantastic. I hope Washington wins it. I hope Washington kind of wins the whole thing with a rookie quarterback. That'd be pretty sick. But hope you like the shorts. Jeff's been working hard on those shorts on YouTube, and follow, like, subscribe. We've jumped up, like, we've almost doubled our subscribers in the last like 2 weeks. So um, it was pretty cool. Ryan says it's going to be the Chiefs and the Eagles, and I'm going to throw up if that's the case because that's the same old crap we've seen before. And I'm hoping it's Commanders Bills, but we will see. All right, Craig. Well, that's going to end the show tonight. We need to get some sleep because we got to go to work early in the morning. And God bless. And remember,
Keep it outspoken. This damn cat is about to wear me out.
I hear something crying. I was like, what the fuck?